Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think the very first question based on the topic that we have selected for this is going to be, what do you think is the meaning of the word gaze? How do you perceive gaze in your work, and how do you define it for yourself? Uh, I think anybody can start, but and this is an open question for all four of you.
I mean, gaze is a word that at least I learned. And in a very simplistic way, it's a female gaze and a male gaze. But if I was to be honest, it's much more complicated. You know, it's sometimes a female gaze hiding a male gaze, and sometimes a male gaze hiding a female gaze, or trying to be a female gaze. I think the world that we live in, I think it's just individual gaze, because it's not even like two women would look at the same situation or the same scenario with the same lens.
So what you're saying is it's based on your own experiences, and because each individual is made up of their own experiences.
I think the way you are conditioned and your frame tells you that. And a lot of times you may make a film that you don't really resonate with, and that shows. A director always reveals themselves. And I'm sure at many levels, it is the cinematographer also reveals themselves and their belief system. And everybody working, because filmmaking, I think, is the most collaborative art. And whether you like it or not, you may think, you know, you're a completely dictatorial kind of a director, but you have to let it in that everybody's performance makes the whole. So, yeah.
Yes, I also agree with you. Like, it's rarely one person's gaze making the entire film. So a lot of, I mean, of course, it starts with the writer, how you were perceived. A lot of it comes from there. And then how the director would look at things would be different if it's a female director. I mean, but then again, like Leena said, it's an individual's gaze. It's a lot about your upbringing and your personal, how much you've grown as a person, read, changed yourself, your background. I mean, people grow. But yeah, the way you look at a character, how you want the graph to go, and how you want to portray it, these things bring in the gaze. So yeah.
I totally agree with Leena and Nusrat, because for me, it's very difficult to purely define my gaze, just like what the two of you have explained. I believe I'm a product of everything, molded by my culture and my upbringing. So in Sri Lanka and India, it's very heavily culture centric. So it's rather difficult to separate us and what we have grown through. So, and also the paths I have taken, it has influenced me or any filmmaker, including me, about defining my own gaze. So, so the paths I've taken, as in like as a child or as a mother, as a filmmaker, as a wife. So it has influenced me and has molded me into how I perceive things. So I'm a product of everything. So I'm also a product of female and male gaze, just like how Leena explained. It's very difficult to separate the two. So it's like a footprint stamped on us. So it reflects in our films. So yeah, I totally agree.
And it seems to have cultural strands to it as well, as you're explaining.
So I would say that there's a male gaze and a female gaze. There's also something called queer gaze, which is very evident, especially like the first time I encountered it was basically in the film by Rituparna Ghosh called Antarmahal, which basically, like, I mean, he has this queer gaze on Abhishek Bachchan. You can feel that, you know, it's not a male gaze, it's not a female gaze, it's a completely queer gaze. And the way he depicts, or the camera lingers over Abhishek Bachchan, is so queer. And of course, Rituparna Ghosh brought his queer sensibility to all his works per se, whether it was female-centric or transgender-centric. Basically, he brought his queer gaze everywhere. So for me, like, I mean, what is a queer gaze is a question per se. Is it fetishizing a body? No, not really. Is it like an idea which you feel that like you need to express? Yes, that's what I feel. So when I say queer gaze, it could be like a gay gaze, lesbian gaze, or a transgender gaze per se. I mean, it could be all of that. So, and what I abhor is basically the male gaze, which kind of fetishizes women in so many Bollywood films. Though many of the films, the male filmmakers says that they're making a women-oriented film, but the gaze is so skewed up completely. I wish that same film would have been made by female and it would have been much better. So that's the thing. I think Bollywood needs to definitely learn more about gaze and how to perceive. And also, it's not just a camera, as I think Nusrat also said, is right from the writing stage. And of course, all the products which go into making a film, the gaze is definitely there. But like, I agree that like the gaze is a mix of all the people who contribute to the film. But I would say the writer, director, and the editor really contributes a lot because they perceive the film right from the beginning. That's what I would say. But yeah, the camera person would be definitely having that gaze per se. So I think what we need is basically more or awareness about what gaze means per se. I really think there's very less awareness, and this particular conversation hopefully kind of sheds light on that.
Thank you so much for talking about the